Welcome to this episode of Kennedy Saves the World. Now, we have to talk about the 90s because we are in the midst of a big 90s resurgence. And I remember when it was the 90s, you know, dancing around in my micro mini skirt with my crop top and the Hamptons. I was thinking at some point, the 90s are going to be retro, which seems so odd to me because we were dancing to 80s music just like this at the time. But, you know, the 90s are coming back, and there is an entire generation of people who they don't know what that means. They just want to partake in the fun. And some of it, yes, we absolutely should bring with us, like scrunchies. Got one right here. Adidas tracksuit. Yes, and yes. Remember when Madonna used to wear the same Adidas tracksuit out so the paparazzi wouldn't shoot her? And now she's desperate for the paparazzi to take pictures of her, and that's why she walks around like with her boobs out, just sucking on axe handles and inappropriate things like that. So she probably longs for a part of the 90s, but at the time she hated all of the attention, so she wore this. So I think we can bring these into the new modern millennium with us. Hoop earrings. I started wearing hoops in the 90s, and I've never gone back. So I'm wearing like amazing and crazy 90s lipstick. And now I realize we absolutely have to. There is a way of doing the ombre lip trend, and it has research. So first I did black eyeliner, and then I did brown, and then super light pink in the middle. And it brings me feelings of joy, but the really clumsy variety that we used to do unashamedly, that can stay. I remember MAC earth tones were very, very big in the early 90s. MAC was new, and it was a lot of just plum lipstick and football brown blush and eyeshadow. And that one you got to use a light touch with. Now, there's one thing in the 90s, and I know I've touched on this on the podcast in the past, that absolutely has to stay back then. And it resurges every once in a while, and it is a horrible long-term idea. If there's one thing I'm very happy that I kept from the 90s, other than tracksuits and hoop earrings, it's my eyebrows. So whenever I go into hair and makeup and see a new makeup artist, they always go, "Oh, wow, I really like your eyebrows." Because, I mean, they're crazy. They're like shrubs. I do have Russian dictator eyebrows that need to be very carefully manicured, but I didn't overpluck, which is what most people did. And I know I've told this story. At the time, Drew Barrymore was dating Eric from Hole. And so I was at a Hole concert, and then afterward we were all hanging out, and Drew Barrymore was there, and she had just the teeny tiny itty bitty line left of her eyebrows because she had plucked everything else. And so I went up to her, and this is like an old Brady Bunch joke. And I was like, "Oh my God, Drew, did you call the police?" And she was like, "Oh my God, why?" And I was like, "To find the man who stole your eyebrows." And she's like, "This is not even funny, Kennedy." But it was actually like really funny because she looked, this chair sounds like it's farting. It's the chair. It's not me, I swear. I did not bring beanie weenies back from the 90s. I did not bring a can of Philly Dilly chili because there was like a kitschy store on the corner where I used to live called Love Saves the Day. And they sold, Phyllis Diller had her own line of canned chili. And Philly Dilly chili, you could buy cans of it. And I wish I had. I have not consumed it. I am not farting. As I move my Adidas tracksuit bedecked bottom around the chair, it is making an unfortunate noise. I am not Eric Swalwell or Whoopi Goldberg. I wish, can I make it happen? I'm not cutting wind. Having said that, I tell my daughters this all the time. Do not overpluck your eyebrows. It is not worth it. Micro minis are fine if you have insane legs and you're 5'10". Otherwise, you need a little bit of coverage. Crushed velvet, I really did love some crushed velvet. And I think, again, it's all about a forward-looking, well-intentioned hand. So you got to have a light touch of these things, but I know that Spanx makes velvet leggings, which are really beautiful and they hold you in. And I just had to throw a pair away because I burned mine with the ash from my cigar. But velvet, I'm totally fine with. Scrunchies are glorious. Jennifer Aniston's haircuts, the Rachel, nope, absolutely leave that in the 90s. Platform shoes. So remember when Madonna's documentary came out, Truth or Dare, and she had those giant John Fluvog platforms. I love John Fluvogs. I was obsessed with the John Fluvog. That's a shoemaker, obsessed with the John Fluvog store in Soho. And I still have like 4 good working pairs of John Fluvogs that I absolutely love. Platforms are tricky though. Like platform sneakers, you really got to be careful with those because you can go ass over tea kettle and very, very easily break an ankle or, worse, as someone very close to me has learned, you can pop a tendon and a ligament and have reconstructive surgery on your entire foot. So you have to be so, so careful when you wear any sort of platforms, but especially like Converse, because it gives you a false sense of security because it's fashiony athleisure wear. And so you think you're being sporty and bouncy, and then you try and run and dance, and then you're on a knee scooter for 8 to 10 weeks. So you have to be very, very careful with that. There are so many things that we could all ponder together. I did love baby doll dresses so much because Courtney Love would dress, they called it kinder whore because she dressed like a child and a prostitute all at the same time. A very, very clever fashion amalgamation. I love the line of baby doll dresses, like a short full dress, maybe with a high waist. I'm good with that. I think that can come back, and Doc Martens, always solid. Now, here is a piece of controversial 90s clothing that I loved so much. I actually don't have appropriate perspective, and I have to leave it up to this generation whether or not they want to engage with it. And that's bike shorts, bike length shorts. I mean, not obviously shorts that have a chamois butt cushion in the middle that makes you look like you have a package, which, for some people, I'm sure that's lovely. But the bike short cut with Docs, I think, is super hot. I rocked that with my friend Amira all through the early 90s. Sometimes we would wear, this is so gross, we would wear men's wrestling shoes in our size with men's boxers, like sport briefs, because sport briefs were fairly new. And it was like, they're wearing their underwears. And there was a lot of wearing your underwears in the 90s, like on the outside, which, there's enough whoring nowadays. You don't have to go that far. But bike shorts and Docs or moto boots, I still think is very, very hot. Would I rock it now? No, probably not, because I wear bike shorts and I'm biking and I'm 51, and that would be way too emotionally confusing for me and very, very unnecessary, because we have to remember, I'm someone's mom. I know, it's hard to believe. But I see trends, 90s trends bubbling up in their lives. And I can't tell them that I used to dress like that, because they will burn their clothing, because they still have this assumption that I was never cool. But I see what they're wearing. I'm like, who's got 4 eyes, 2 thumbs, speaks French, and was a fashion diplomat in the 90s? Moi! All right. Go frolic about in your John Fluvogs and your bike shorts with your scrunchie, and know that whatever you're doing, just rock it with confidence, and that is 90% of the task. This has been Kennedy Saves the World. I'm Kennedy.
Listen ad-free with a Fox News Podcast Plus subscription on Apple Podcasts, and Amazon Prime members can listen to this show ad-free on the Amazon Music app.
Oh, go ahead and leave me a review while you're there. I'd love to hear what you have to say. You've been listening to Kennedy Saves the World on the Fox News Podcast Network.